This podcast is brought to you by the Association for Coaching, the world's leading international professional body which is advancing coaching in business and society worldwide. My name is Maxine Bell, and I am delighted to introduce you to a new series, A Day in the Life of. These podcast episodes will be released between our longer themed podcast series that you're already used to. We've been interviewing coaches for a while now under the theme A Day in the Life of for our LinkedIn newsletter, and they were so well received we wanted to offer them to a broader audience. The interviews are with real, everyday coaches across the globe from all walks of life who join me to honestly and bravely share their journeys into coaching, how they coach and run their business, what they love and what their challenges are, as well as how they integrate self-care into their practice. It's a real honour to get a sneak peek into their lives, and we hope that listening to their stories will inspire, encourage and assist you, whatever stage of your coaching journey you are on. Welcome back to another episode in our lovely Day in the Life series, where we're talking to real coaches. And today we have a treat because we have not one but two coaches with us. We have Amanda Pennington and Chris Bibbo, and they are here as partners in work and life, aren't you, together?
We are.
As they say, harmoniously. Fantastic. That's a really good start. It's lovely to have you both on. It's lovely to have you here as a couple, actually, to hear about both your work as coaches and how that works living and working together in many ways.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you today.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. So let's start off with the basics. Let's start off from where you are now with your coaching practice. What is your current coaching practice for you both individually and together? Let's maybe start with you, Chris.
I recently was certified as an associate certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. So I finished my coach training in the fall and took the exam in February and was certified. I have 125 hours or so of coaching under my belt. So I'm still a relative newbie, but enough to sit for the exam and get certified. I've probably had 15 or so clients as a student coach. I'm in between clients right now. When I was preparing to complete my course requirements for my coaching program and take the exam, I finished up with the clients that I have so that I could focus on the closing requirements and haven't gotten back on the horse, so to speak, to recruit or enroll new clients yet. So I'm working on that. I have hopefully a few coming on board soon. Just signed up to volunteer coach some U.S. folks, former federal workers who have suddenly found themselves without jobs due to the changes that are going on in the United States. So I expect to be working with some clients soon who are former federal workers in the U.S. So that's where I am.
I think one of the biggest challenges that all new coaches find is, how do I get clients? So hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, you'll have a long list of them. So thank you for sharing that. What about you, Amanda?
Chris and I did the same coaching program, same school, and I'm about a year behind Chris. I started a little later than he did. I've completed coursework, and I'm working on getting my hours so that I can hopefully by next Christmas be certified. We'll see. And I have some clients right now that I'm working with, 5 or 6 clients at the moment. And we're both always kind of dreaming and thinking and planning and experimenting with new ways to connect with people who are ready for coaching, who might be interested in coaching. So that's always just kind of cooking in our heads. But that's where I am now. Yeah, I've got a few clients. Again, I'm even newer and fresher at this than Chris is. So I think this could be an interesting take for listeners who are thinking about getting started or are getting started and are wondering, is this what it's supposed to be like? To maybe we're not alone in this really amazing adventure that we've undertaken to be life coaches.
And we recently did our first workshop together. One of the things we talked about doing for quite a long time was doing a live workshop for participants. We call it a life blueprint workshop. Just a chance to look at what's most important to them in life and their areas of their lives there's something important to them they want to be demonstrating more fully and taking action. And so we did that with a group of folks here in our town a few weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience, but it's amazing what a hurdle that was, because we've talked about for months, we got to do this workshop, probably a year, and finally got around to doing it and had the best time, and it was well received by the participants too. So that's an exciting thing for us as well.
It's the first time that Chris and I kind of officially worked together. in the coaching arena. We talk all the time about it because we're both pursuing this. So we talk a lot about it. We have a shared language that makes all of this just a little richer. But it was the first time we'd worked together, and it was a blast. I feel like we complemented each other well, and I'd work with you again.
I would work with you too, which is good to know.
Oh, thank you. It's quite bold of you as well, so early on to just set up a workshop.
Yeah.
You're based in Portugal, aren't you? So was that with English-speaking people that you did the workshop?
Yes, they were all English-speaking. We had people from the Netherlands. We had some Americans, a Romanian woman, a Portuguese woman who's an English speaker. Who else?
Some Americans, Scottish. It was like a little United Nations gathering.
That's wonderful.
It was a really fun group and very diverse in some ways and very willing. And we just kind of got to try this out. And that's what I think what we're finding that is important for us at this stage in our life coaching careers is trying stuff out. Just give this a shot and see what happens. Give this a shot and see what happens.
And being willing to experiment and just see what works.
That's a great philosophy, particularly when you're new. So you've already given people out there a tip, like you said, for those that want to coach or just the beginning of that journey. But to go backwards a little bit, what brought you to become coaches? Because you're not quite 21, but you're probably not quite my age either. But what did you do before, and how did you land as coaches? And in fact, how did you also bring yourselves to Portugal?
I worked in the nonprofit sector, still do actually on a sort of a contracting basis. So I worked in the nonprofit sector in the U.S. for pretty much all of my career until it was about 52, actually, is when I left full-time work. But probably around 48, I started to experience some midlife crisis symptoms, even though I was doing work that I believed in an organization whose mission I really loved. I had been in the same organization for 20 years at that point and was wondering, am I going to do this until I retire? Is this all there is? It had lost a lot of the sense of satisfaction wasn't there anymore. The fulfillment wasn't there. It felt like I was just going through the motions and really feeling unfulfilled, a little bit lost, a little bit trapped, all of those sorts of things that come up in midlife for a lot of people. And started looking around and thinking about what else I wanted to do. I did a certification in emotional and social intelligence, the EQI 2.0 specifically at one point, because I was seeing that it seemed like something we needed in the world, more emotional and social intelligence with all of the conflict and all the vitriol that we have and the seeming inability to take other perspectives and respect other opinions. But I did that training for the instrument to be able to administer the instrument, and then realized that a lot of the value I would provide would come from being able to coach people through the results and help them to look and interpret their results and the changes they wanted to make in their lives. So I started looking at coaching because I didn't have coaching skill. I was certified in the instrument. So that's sort of what led me into coaching. It was through a desire to promote more emotional and social intelligence, particularly in our culture. And I thought that was an important thing. And I just wanted to, having been in the nonprofit world for so long, it was important for me to do something that was still making an important contribution, still having a positive impact in the world. That's very important to me. And I thought that coaching would do that. That's a little bit about what led me to it.
Yeah. And so while Chris is on this journey, I also spent most of my adult working life in the nonprofit sector, working for large organizations, small local organizations. None of it was life coaching. Some of it was logistics, some of it was fundraising, some of it was program management. And so as Chris is kind of delving into this world, I came to a place where I knew there was more for me personally and professionally, but really personally. And I wasn't finding it. I wasn't getting it. The books I was reading and the conversations I was having weren't getting me there. So I hired a life coach myself with the intention of really trying to shift my perspective from perspective of lack to a perspective of abundance. I remember talking to her and saying, I just want to live a life of abundance, experiencing abundance, seeing it everywhere. That's what I want. And so I hired my own life coach. And as I worked with her over 6 months, she started encouraging me in a lot of different ways. But in one of the ways she encouraged me was, maybe you should think about coaching yourself. Not coaching myself, but becoming a coach myself. And as she said that to me, I started reflecting back on the different jobs I'd had over my adult life and realized my favorite part of all of those jobs was the tiny little element that involved coaching or the skills that come from becoming a life coach. And I saw that, oh man, I think this is who I've been throughout my career. I think I've been a coach on some level. And so I kind of took her encouragement and saw what Chris was experiencing and what he was enjoying and taking away from his learning and his encouragement as well. And so I dove in. Also, I, kept my full-time job, just like Chris kept his full-time job, but started the program, this life coaching training program. And it felt like the right fit. It felt like, yeah, this whole time, I've been a life coach. I just was called something else. So that's kind of what led me to life coaching.
Your stories aren't uncommon in the sense that people experience coaching either through work or something like that, and that getting to that point of what else can I do because there's something missing. And the other part of that, many coaches I speak to say, I think I've always been a coach. There's always been something in me, a curiosity, something where I ask certain questions in certain ways with people. I love your motives for doing it too, this need to contribute to do meaningful work in the world. And coaching offers such huge variety in many ways, doesn't it, to express that?
It does, yeah. And that's because of the work we kind of dedicated our life to in the nonprofit world. This seemed like such just another natural, good fit to keep offering ourselves and what we have to bring and give and contribute.
You'll have to have a listen to some of our podcasts if you haven't listened to some of them already to give you, if you're a new coach, one of the things I'm proud of in our podcast is that in our different series, it gives you quite a wide scope to examine different types of coaching. And we interviewed Daniel Goleman last year, Chris, as you might know. So we were lucky to have the man who sort of started the emotional intelligence movement off on our podcast. So it was lovely. So was moving to Portugal part of your midlife, call it a crisis, but the root meaning of the word crisis is opportunity, isn't it? So was Portugal part of that, moving from the States?
It was. It kind of happened concurrently. Well, I think we discovered on our second date that we both had dreams of living abroad someday. We'd both traveled extensively. Amanda had actually lived in Prague for a couple of years in her 20s. The most time I had spent outside of the United States was 8 weeks in the Philippines back in 2014. But so I always had a desire to live abroad for a longer period of time. And she also had a desire to get back outside the U.S. for a while. So we figured this out pretty early on in our relationship. And then it kept coming up. We kept talking about it. It was always like a someday sort of fantasy, just sort of out there. We don't know when it's going to be possible to make it happen. Maybe when we retire, maybe when we have enough money, maybe someday. And then we had a number of wake-up calls in 2020, 2021, around, not the least of which was the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were all trapped inside for a while and had a lot of time to ask ourselves some questions. Amanda had a breast cancer diagnosis in March of 2020, just as things were shutting down with COVID, and went through quite an ordeal for the next several months there. So that was one of our wake-up calls. We lost several people that were close to us, friends, family members who around our age who died unexpectedly in those couple of years. And it was all, caused us to question, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? We don't have kids. We don't have to worry about putting children through college. We're sort of doing the conventional thing that everyone does just because that's kind of what you do. If we have the means to do this, what are we waiting for? And so that all happened around the same time as we were also exploring a career change.
And what we were learning through the life coaching training program really supported us, as you might imagine, to make this decision and then to keep taking all the small steps we needed to take to stay with it and to see it through. Life coaching really supported us to get here just because we decided to do it and then start taking the steps to move to Portugal doesn't mean we didn't have days where we thought, what are we doing? This is crazy. This isn't going to work. Is this going to work? How are we going to make this work? At any moment, we could have just thrown in the towel. And what we were learning from coaching really kept us in. It kept us in, kept us engaged, kept us going. And, oh man, here we are. We came to Portugal with the intention of staying 1 year. We called it our midlife gap year. And we're now just finished our second year here. At the end of March, we celebrated our 2-year anniversary in Portugal, and we're trying to sort out how to stay a little bit longer term. So we're here. We did it. We're doing it. And every day we still have moments where we're like, can we do this? How are we doing this? Are we going to pull this off? And every day we're tapping back in and accessing those skills we've learned from life coaching, that we've learned ourselves and that we're supporting others to practice, to keep us engaged, to keep us in this game that's worth playing for, called our lives. Not just letting it happen, but in being intentional about what we do with the second half of our life.
If we hadn't been in a life coaching training program when we were, well, I was, you were in life coaching yourself. But if we didn't have that experience of life coaching at the same time as we were considering going to Europe, I don't think that those wake-up calls that we went through would have been enough to motivate us. We felt motivated, and yet there were still so many what ifs, so many doubts, worries. What do we do? We're going to leave our jobs. What happens if we run out of money there? And it was like taking things to a worst case scenario of all the horrible things that would happen and go wrong if we did this. But we were learning and being coached ourselves and being trained as coaches that those doubts and worries are a natural part of life, and how to move beyond them to accomplish what is most important for us to accomplish in life. Mm-hmm. So this wouldn't have happened without the experience of being coached and being trained as coaches.
That's such a sales point for coaching, isn't it? Just listening to your life and not like small events either you're dealing with, moving into a whole new culture, a whole new country, dealing with the cancer diagnosis and how that is. And that's a traumatic event in itself, isn't it? And other things and the whole pandemic. So that's incredible to hear that coaching has kind of kept you focused. And as you know, and I lived in Portugal for nearly 2 years, and I've got a real place in my heart for it as a country. It's very beautiful. The people are lovely. But it's tricky to work through all the administrative stuff to stay. It's quite full on, isn't it? So that in itself, I can imagine having some coaching skills is quite good.
We haven't been through the visa renewal process yet. Our initial 2-year visa will expire in July. And so we have to go through that renewal process again. So we're going to have to coach ourselves through that, I think.
Yeah, it's an adventure, but it's lovely. And it's lovely, like you said, sometimes these big events happen and we think they're going to motivate us to do all these big changes. But we still have all these fears that come up, all these blocks, all these justifications in our heads on why we shouldn't, whether it's money or family or some other reason. So, I think everyone thinks when you get something like cancer that's it, you change your life drastically, you sort all your relationships out, everything. So it doesn't work. It's not linear, is it, Amanda?
No, it's not. Yeah. And it's a process, like everything else is a process. Mm. And our brains have a way of talking us out of things because that's what our brains are supposed to do. They're supposed to keep us safe. They're supposed to keep us alive. And whenever we decide to do something new or risky or out of the norm for us or change the status quo, our brains say, hold on. You don't really need to do that. And the things that came up for us were no different. Our brains worked really hard to keep us safe and in our culture and in our home and in what we knew, what was comfortable. And we kept saying, it's okay, brain. All is well. We're going to keep on keeping on.
It's funny you'd mention brain because courage is in the heart for me. It's almost a battle of the mind and the heart a little bit. All those changes that you felt in your, midlife crises and the events that happened, a lot of that is a stirring more in the heart than of the mind. So do you think that's an argument for the fact that coaching needs to have heart? It can't just be a thought out process. It has to be an emotional process too.
Absolutely. I think getting clear on what's most important to you, me getting clear on what was most important to me, I feel like that truth lives in my heart. And to give myself permission to access that and to verbalize that and to put that out there into the world was very much an act of the heart.
A process of learning to pay attention to what the heart is saying rather than just what the monkey mind is saying or the negativity bias in the brain, that we have an opportunity to choose what we pay attention to. And so often we pay attention to what the negativity bias is telling us. And so learning to pay attention to what's in the heart, the most deeply held values, what's most important to me in life in terms of who I am, what I want to be, how I want to contribute in the world, how I would like to be remembered. Those sorts of things are more hard questions. So remembering to be rooted in those things and to focus our attention there and take action on those drives, not disregarding the warnings from the brain because they're important, but deciding, being proactive and deciding, I hear it and I can pay attention. I can make accommodation for some of the risk factors and whatnot, but ultimately I'm not going to let them stop me. I'm going to pursue what my heart is telling me to pursue.
And actually, your personal journeys, as with a lot of coaches, is impacting your coaching, because you're now likely you can authentically take people through that process themselves, can't you? Discovering what their own values are, what meaning they want to make of life. So I just love the way life does that in many ways our pain and our struggles become our purpose, and we help other people in that same way then. So what qualities do you think are important, needed for change to happen, either with us personally or for wider change?
Gosh, that's a really good question, Maxine. What qualities are needed for change? First thing that pops into my head is willingness, the quality to be willing. We talk about that in our coaching. If you can say, I don't know how to do this, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I want to do this, nevertheless, I am willing to take the next step, that's a powerful quality. Just to be willing, just to say, yes, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know, but I'm willing to take the next step to see, that's what we say in our coaching program is that's your capacity to say yes to your life. That leads to change.
Another quality, I think, is the ability to observe oneself.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd call that metacognition, or to take a step back from the chatter in our heads, observe it, observe the messages the mind is giving, observe the sensations in the body, the emotions in that, and sort of disidentify from it a bit, but just watch it as an observer. I think that's key for change to happen, because we can realize that those are just thoughts, they're just emotions, and there may be a reason for them, but I don't have to be governed by my thoughts and emotions all the time. I can choose by focusing on what's most important to me and who I am in my heart of hearts, and focus on those things and take steps forward to go where I want to go. But I think that takes a certain awareness that whatever is going on inside me that might be inhibiting me, I don't have to identify with that, and I don't have to obey it. I can move around it.
I notice with coaches, a lot of words are used, like courage, the one we've mentioned, compassion, curiosity. There's a lot of C words that pop up in the coaching world in relation to change. Self-awareness is huge, isn't it? It's essential. You would be a slightly hypocritical coach if you didn't do that yourself and then go and help people to do that.
I agree, though, the qualities you mentioned are necessary for change, individual change, and forward movement, and also societal change as well. I just don't think we're going to get very far as a species without learning compassion and courage, equanimity, openness to one another, a sense of unity, we're all in this together, versus this othering and us and them that we tend to do, a sense of harmony, justice, all of those sorts of things I think are important qualities for both personal and societal change.
Yeah, I think Kristen Neff, whose work on self-compassion is well known, one of the things in her books are very much about what you said about realizing that you're not on your own, that other people are going through stuff as well, that, like you say, we're all in it together. It's a universal life experience as well as individual ones. So I think some of the beautiful things that coaching offers out there is to help people develop those qualities, especially curiosity and openness. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. We'll just get back to some practical things. I know you're very early on in your journey with coaching, so you're probably still doing some other work, which most coaches carry on doing that for a long time, if they're honest, whether that's something else. But what is kind of your typical week panning out to look like? How much work are you doing individually, or you mentioned you've done some work together? What does it look like, or what would you like it to look like in the next coming months, maybe, because you're so new?
I love the second part of that question. What would I like it to look like? What it currently looks like for me is I do have several clients that I see for an hour session a week. And then I have emails, follow-up, notes, So I'm working maybe 10 hours a week at this point, which is not much, which is on one hand kind of great. And on the other hand, it's not going to work long term. So that's kind of what my normal week looks like. I'm meeting with a handful of clients, following up, responding. I'm also doing some marketing. And some weeks I'm a little more active than others. Some weeks I'm just on it and I've got ideas and I'm putting them out there and I'm jazzed up and I'm excited about what I'm going to share and who might see this and who might this support. And then some weeks I feel like I've got nothing in my head. I'm like, what do I have to offer? What do I have to put out there this week? I'm not sure that I have much at the moment. And rather than kind of beating myself up over that or forcing it, I'm just kind of letting it be. But there is definitely some marketing. And right now for me, that means social media. I'm aiming for a post once a week that's coaching related, either drawing upon my own life or something I've learned or experienced myself through coaching. And then following up with contacts or people who've expressed interest. So there is some of that as well. Some trying to stay in front of people and still feeling good about what I'm putting out there. But then what I would love for it to be is I would love to have, instead of 3 or 4 clients a week, I would love to have 10 or 12 clients a week and to have there be a little bit more of a referral process going where somebody who had a positive experience with me, I'm having some success with referrals there. Like that base has been built and now the referrals are happening a little more organically. But I would love to be so busy with coaching clients that I'm referring them to other coaches. Not because I feel like I need to work to be of value or because I need to produce and earn and carry my own weight or any of that, but because I love coaching so much. I love what it offered to me and what it offers to my current clients. I've seen changes in myself and others, and I just want these tools, these ways of being to get into so many people's hands. So yeah, I get really excited when I think about, I just want so many clients that I get to start referring them to other people. That day's coming, Maxine. I believe it.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when people hear you on this podcast, of course, they'll be like, oh, that's true though, because depending on what kind of coach you're looking for, people get a sense of you guys, a sense of your heart listening to this, and they'll think, oh, actually, I might contact. So, let's hope that works.
Yes, I hope.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I do have another job that I focus on. I do writing grant proposals, grant management for a couple of nonprofit organizations back in the United States, and took that on early on when we arrived just to make sure we had some income while we were pursuing the coaching. And I've continued to do it and probably doing more of it even than when I started. And so, I think I spend a lot of my time doing that and not as much time as I need to be doing promoting my coaching business. And I think passing the certification exam, I kind of treated it like a graduation. Like, okay, I'm done now. And I haven't gotten past the, okay, now I need to get back on the horse and keep trying to bring in new clients. So that's kind of where I am right now. I'm busy with my other stuff. And we also, the two of us have another side gig that we're starting soon as well, which does involve some coaching. So that's going to make us even busier. But I still would like to have regular coaching clients, like the, 1 hour a week coaching sessions and have 5 to 10 of those a week, and also be doing more group work, more workshops, and just knowing that we have a chance to expose people to at least some of the things that we've learned, even if they're not ever going to sign up for coaching. There's real value in some of the foundational aspects of our coaching program that we'd like to introduce folks to. And it could also lead to additional clients. I see us doing more of that in the future as well.
What do you love about the groups? You seem very attracted to that. What is it about group coaching that particularly excites you?
What I noticed, and it's funny because I have done a lot of group facilitation in my career and hadn't done it for some time and kind of forgot. But the idea of, bringing people together and seeing the group energy that gets generated. In this case, we had 9 or 10 folks at our workshop, and most of them didn't know each other unless a few came with a partner. When they were meeting for the first time, and there was an energy in the room, and excitement, enthusiasm. And they were all friends of ours that didn't know each other, and watching them sort of gel and develop relationships and trade phone numbers. And afterwards, they're like, you two need to have a pool party this summer, and we'll have a potluck and we'll all come over and have a little reunion. That was great. I mean, that was, to me, is the most gratifying thing about that, bringing people together and seeing the excitement and the relationships develop.
Yeah, there's something powerful that can happen in community. And this was just a little pocket of like just this little 2-hour occurrence of that we got to experience and witness, was the bringing community together around a topic like what's most important to you and how do you demonstrate that? That's such a life-giving topic in a life-giving environment. And there's just an electricity and an energy and a joy, I think is what I felt. I just felt joy, and I would love to experience more of that. And I would love to offer that up to others to experience as participants. I just felt like a really safe, enlivened, lively, joyous space to learn and grow and learn from others and connect. And it's just a powerful environment.
There was a couple that came, a Swiss couple, in their early 40s, and we just had dinner with them the other night, and they told us that because of the workshop, they're looking at a significant change of moving from where they are here in sort of the middle of the country out to the coast, because they dreamed of being by the water and surfing and being in a more urban environment. So just because of the 1.5 or 2 hours that we spent with them, and they had the opportunity to look at what was most important to them, they're considering a big change. So that was heartening too. It's like, this stuff really works well for people when they take the opportunity to take a step back and reflect and look at what's most important to them and share that with other people and look at what steps they can make in their lives to bring them more joy and fulfillment. So I love to see that.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot to have a large positive impact in people's lives.
Yeah, and all the qualities you said about the group, that's credit to you too. That energy wouldn't necessarily be there. It's very much up to the facilitators of what gets created in the room from the start. So credit to you. That's just wanted to let you own that for what you created in the space you created on your first workshop. So yeah, it sounds great. And that's lovely feedback to hear, people making changes from it, isn't it? So fantastic. Now, you've kind of already hinted at one challenge you're having, which is getting new clients. Is there anything else, or is there anything specific about that you wanted to mention? Any other sort of challenges in starting up a new coaching business, as is what you're doing, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think for us, that is one of the biggest challenges, is knowing where our ideal client is and how to reach that person, how to get the message to them. That's the challenge. And so we're in this experimental phase and trying a little of this and a little of that and seeing what works and what doesn't work and how to tweak it. And on one hand, it's exciting and exhilarating when some positive results come our way. It can also be very discouraging and frustrating when we try, let's try this. No results there. Let's try this. No results there. Or at least no results that we can see. And we have to keep coming back to that we actually were just talking about this morning over our coffee. We have to think of it more as like a bucket of water, and we're slowly filling the bucket of water, kind of a drop at a time. And over time, it's going to fill. And the drop in the bucket is our reaching out, saying, hey, remember me? Here's a post. Reaching out to friends, reaching out to our networks, just reminding people we're here. Here's what we're doing. How can we support you? Do you know someone? And a one-off probably isn't going to yield a whole lot, but a few more drops may. I'm kind of mixing my metaphor, and I'm kind of all over the place with that metaphor. I haven't thought it out very well, but I think you get what I'm saying. And to not take it personally, if we reach out to somebody or to a group of friends or a group of former colleagues or our network and just say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're doing. Do you know anybody? And if we get crickets, which means silence, we don't get a lot of responses, to not take that personally, that is challenging and also really important work for us, to not take it as rejection or to take it as a personal statement about what people think of us, but to carry on, to not let our brains make that mean more than it means, and then keep us from reaching out and moving forward. That's a challenge and a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to practice what we preach.
I would say that I went into coaching with a bit of a Pollyanna sort of attitude that, I'm going to go through this program. I'm going to get my certification and I'll just announce it. And then everybody's going to come running to be coached. And I didn't know, how much work it would actually take to enroll new clients. And that can be, at least at first, the majority of the job, just spending hours and hours trying to find new clients until the ball really gets rolling and kind of moves itself with referrals and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just had no idea what it was going to entail. And actually, it's probably good that I didn't know, because I'm not sure I would have carried on. I'm not sure I would have gone through the whole thing if I had known what was entailed with building a successful business. I didn't go into it wanting to be with a drive to be a marketer and an entrepreneur. I went into it with a drive to coach people and support people. But in order to do that, you have to do the other stuff. And so now I know that. I kind of wish I had known it when I started.
But you also wish you hadn't. You're glad you didn't know it.
I'm glad I didn't, because I'm glad that I completed the program. It's been personally transformative. And if I never coached another person, which I hope isn't the case because I intend to be coaching, but if I didn't, I would still consider it to be a very worthwhile investment of time and resources to have gone through that program, because we wouldn't be here otherwise.
Something Chris said made me think of something else we talk about in our coaching is something called the hero's journey, which is from Joseph Campbell. And we talk about how each of us is on our own hero's journey. And I had no idea my hero's journey or our hero's journey would include how to market myself on social media. And it's not a very romantic or very dramatic or very, part of this particular hero's journey. But if I can keep my outlook focused on it in that way, like this is all part of this bigger story that's unfolding of my life and coaching in my life, then it makes it feel a little bit more like an adventure. And if I can view it as an adventure, then I'm more willing to try and risk and overcome and keep at it. I don't know, something you said, Chris, made me think of that. Like, maybe this is more about keeping my perspective on this as like the hero's journey. This is just part of my hero's journey, figuring out where my ideal client is and how to reach them.
Yeah, and I think maybe for you, Chris, as well, is the challenge of you've got your other work, which can feel very familiar and safe. And so I know from my own experience, it's easy to fall back into the familiar and safe when that initial struggle starts. But I think the networking is definitely the biggest piece of advice that every interview we've done, every coach has said, if you're new, the networking is essential. And for those listening, our Getting Started as a Coach series was really good. We went through all sorts of topics. So it's worth listening to that if you're a new coach. We go everything through the professional bodies through to how do you get new clients and all that kind of thing. And we've also got a series on marketing, which we did about 3 years ago, which is excellent. These things always need updating because the social media world is so rapid. But for those of you listening, do if you're new, have a listen. Just free resources. And this is why we love doing it. But it's a very common journey. And like you said, Chris, you get your certificate and then you're a bit like, okay, because you're not just walking into a job. There are many ways. That definitely is the advice that most people say is the networking is key. And that does require effort. And that does require reaching out on LinkedIn constantly and things. So it is hard. But someone I spoke to once said the first 2 years are the toughest, the first 2 to 4 years. And some people do give up in that time. So your passion for what you're doing, your passion for wanting change in the world, is the thing that spurs you on. So you have to be patient and keep at it. You're right, Amanda. You just have to keep plugging away. So to bring that around, because that is challenging, just go back to what it is about coaching that you love so much and what motivates you to even want to do it. What's your favorite things about coaching?
Seeing people have breakthroughs where they realize, this is something that's really important to me. Mm-hmm. This is my why, so to speak. This is a reflection of who I am, my heart of hearts, and I'm going to pursue this, even though there's all these, I have this inner critic telling me I can't or I shouldn't or you'll fail or those sorts of things. Like seeing people realize I can choose to pay attention to that or I can choose not to pay attention to that. And I can choose to pay attention to the things that are really important to me and focus my energies there and then take positive steps to move towards what they want and move beyond the fear and anxiety. I've seen clients that I've coached decide to pursue a different job because it was better met the needs of their family, for example, their needs, or was a better reflection of what's most important to them, or get over the hump of writing their book finishing the last couple of chapters that have been sitting there unfinished for a while, or just a number of different things, even small goals that people might identify that seem small, but yet they haven't been taking the steps to do them and improve, personal health habits, things like that. And I love being a part of that change process and supporting people through it to demonstrate what's most important to them in life. Because I think that's what we need most, are people who are in touch with who they are as in their heart of hearts, and they're demonstrating that. I think we need much more of that in the world, and I'm passionate about being a part of helping bring that out in people.
Yeah, I would agree with everything Chris said. That's a lot of what I love as well. And something else I love is just seeing how when a person is ready to be coached, the change that can happen quickly, just in 8 sessions maybe, it brings me so much life to see their life open up. And like Chris said, to get to be a part of that is such an honor and a privilege, to get to partner with somebody as they kind of start to explore some of these things maybe for the first time, and then see their whole life open up is such an honor and a privilege. And getting to do that on a weekly basis is a thrill. It's a thrill. And it keeps me in it. It really keeps me in it.
Yeah, thank you. And because you've done the journey yourself as well, it gives it all the more impact, doesn't it? Have you got any, because we're coming near the end now, but have you both got any sort of thoughts or pearls of wisdom or something else you'd just like to share with the listeners before you go?
I don't know if it's a pearl of wisdom, but it's what I keep coming back to. And it's something you mentioned, Maxine, play. If there's a way to look at building a coaching practice or becoming a successful life coach, if there's a way to approach it with playfulness, I think that could be a key to success. And not to say that it's not serious. Making a living is serious, especially when you want to make a living doing something you love and that contributes to the world. But if, for me personally, if I can stay at this and keep playing with it, keep experimenting, keep trying this or that, and just seeing what I might yield or what results I might get as far as building my practice, that keeps me in it. Play, experimenting, and see. Yeah.
And stick with it, knowing that it takes 2 to 4 years, and the first couple of years are the hardest. That's good for new coaches to know, I think, that this is it's part of the journey, it's part of the process. You can expect it, but you can also expect, if you stick at it, to move beyond that and have a successful coaching practice. And, I think it's important to stay with it and to remain connected to your why, your primary motivation, and remember. And every time I get discouraged, I go back to this. What is so important about this to me? Why am I doing this? And it provides a little bit of energy to keep me moving forward.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Just in case people would like to have some coaching with you or just like to have a chat or contact you, what's the best way to get hold of you both?
We both have websites,
which we can put in the show notes so for people that don't catch it now.
Yes, and email addresses. So we can give you our email address now. My email address is Amanda@APennCoaching. And APennCoaching is spelled APENN coaching.com.
That's right.
Thank you.
And your website is the same, www.apenncoaching.com. Mine is just chrisbibbo.com, CHRISBIBBO.com. And my emails is chris@chrisbibbo.com. Very easy.
Just a little final question I thought of before you say goodbye. Is it great to have you both as coaches and do this as a couple? Do you encourage each other?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely we do. And because we have a shared language, we can support each other in that way. We can occasionally coach each other.
Informally.
Informally, yes, informally. And it usually goes really well.
But how lovely to be able to share that, your new careers with each other and the excitement of that, in a new country as well. So so if there's anyone was interested in finding out more about you both, I hope they get in contact, particularly about the workshops, because that sounded interesting to me, what you're doing with that.
We intend to do more in person and more over Zoom as well.
Okay. So there'll be lots of options, Before you know it, there'll be a middle website for both of you. I don't know how you manage that in the end. It'll see how it evolves, won't you, over time, I guess, about how that happens. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing so generously today. I think it's been really interesting, and I hope it's encouraging for those considering coaching or new to it particularly. So thank you so much, Chris and Amanda.
Thanks, Maxine. It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to another podcast by the Association for Coaching. For over 20 years, our purpose has been to inspire and champion coaching excellence, advance the coaching profession, and make a sustainable difference to individuals, organisations and society. To find out more about the AC and our member benefits, follow us on LinkedIn or visit our webpage at associationforcoaching.com. Explore our digital learning hub and enjoy our extensive library of on-demand webinars, signature programs, member benefits, interviews, podcasts, and a portfolio of live events featuring thought leadership, tools, models, and the latest industry trends to help you develop your coaching expertise.